We are back for more hockey fans. Data here with more trades in the lead up to the National Hockey League's trade deadline on Friday, March 7th. Here we are with another one as the Boston Bruins have traded Trent Frederic at 50% salary retained by the Bruins and 25 by the Devils, along with Max Jones and the rights to Petr Hauser to the from the Boston Bruins to the Edmonton Oilers. Sorry, there's a lot of moving parts in this trade to the Boston Bruins from the Boston Bruins to the Edmonton Oilers for Max Wanner, a 2025 second round pick from the Blues, a 2026 fourth round pick from the Oilers, and then to the Devils in exchange for facilitating the trade, get the rights to LaChance. So sorry, let me show you a bit more of what I'm talking about here, because what I'm saying is just a lot of different moving pieces here. So the Edmonton Oilers getting one of the larger centers off the market as well. So the Oilers, essentially, the big deal is this. The Devils get that Shane LaChance just for making the deal happen a little bit. But really, the Oilers are getting Frederic, Jones, and Hauser in exchange for Wanner, a second and a fourth. So let's start breaking this all down. What does this mean for the Boston Bruins, who are likely moving into sell mode, and they have a few more trades to come? Maybe the Edmonton Oilers, who acquired, let's say, Adam Henrique last deadline, kind of make a similar move this deadline, getting that bottom six center, but one who's younger, has more grit, and probably has a bit more left in the tank, probably, as much as I love Adam Henrique. So Trent Frederic, he's going to be moving to the Edmonton Oilers in this trade, as Jay Fresh describes, a physical scoring winger who checks, forechecks, and battles, scores most of his goals by jumping on loose pucks in the inner slot, mostly a bottom sixer, but can retrieve pucks for skilled line mates. So over the last 3 years of weighted average data, we've seen him be in the 54th percentile overall for forwards, 65th of even strength offense, 35th of even strength defense, goals in the 68th, primary assists in the 43rd, power play penalty kill not applicable. Ooh, I can't speak after the Jake Evans one I just did earlier, my apologies. Finishing in the 65th percentile, though that's surprising. While he's not drawing a lot of penalties, nor is he playing with high levels of teammates against high levels of competition, his value has been decreasing over the last couple of years. That doesn't mean he isn't valuable. As you can see here, his offense has kind of rebounded a little bit, mostly plateaued, still well above league average. The finishing has dropped off a little bit despite being much higher in that 75th percentile a couple of years ago. And the defense has also dropped off, and that therefore shows that his value has gone from above the 75th percentile to now closer to 25th percentile. All that being said, that doesn't mean that Trent Frederic does not hold value. He's been doing lots of good things for the Bruins. He throws his body a lot. As you can see, 155 hits through 57 games this season, 204 hits last season. So as a guy who's 6'3", 221 pounds, he definitely imposes himself very much in that bottom six role for the big bad Bruins. And it makes a lot of sense that he's been a 40-point guy for them. He's a former first-round pick in 2016, a lifer here in Boston. He just turned 27 last month, and he's been playing over, now it's 337 games that he has played as a Bruin, 55 goals, 109 points, and now he moves to the Edmonton Oilers as an expiring contract. The Oilers bring him in, along with Max Jones. We'll talk about him in a moment, but the Oilers bring in Trent Frederic. They still have $4.58 million in cap space. They get Trent Frederic at like 75% retained, from 50 from Boston and 25 from the Devils. So Trent Frederic is only making $575K, no problem for them. This definitely tells me that the Oilers have more moves in store, because Trent Frederic was only making what? It was a cap hit of 2.3. So 2.3 AAV brought down to 575, 2.3. So add another add another million and a bit, whatever. They still have like 3 million to play with, the Oilers. So the Oilers still having 4.58 million available to them as the deadline approaches tells me that they have more that they want to do. Now, that being said, they have no first, no second, no fourth, no fifth in 2025. If the Oilers move their 2025 third, that would leave them with 0 draft picks before the 6th round. I don't think any other team would be in that bad of a situation. So 1 pick in the first 5 rounds, definitely, I think, among the worst, if not the worst in the NHL. In 2026, they've already moved their 4th, and the same in 2027. So the Oilers are making trades. You'd think that they would definitely be dipping into a second or a third in 2026 or 27, but they're pretty much depleted on 2025 picks. So in this trade, Trent Frederic goes to the Oilers. We'll look at their depth chart and what that means for their lineup in a moment, but they acquired Trent Frederic from the Bruins, as well as Max Jones, who's a depth winger with size, speed, and physicality, but otherwise limited abilities. He's been in the AHL most of the season as well. So Max Jones, who's been with the Bruins this year, he's been with Anaheim for a while, a first-round pick of theirs back in 2016. He found his way to Boston as he was signed by them in the offseason. Yes, 21 points in 38 games down in Providence, no points in 7 games in the NHL. So when we look at his numbers right here on the JFresh card, that's why it's not 23, that's not 24-25, it's 23-25 because it's only 7 games of a sample size. So that being said, with the extremely limited sample size we have on Max Jones, 15th percentile of projected wins above replacement over the last 3 years, according to weighted average data among forwards. He does draw penalties, but the finishing is non-existent, and the offense and defense are both probably around that like 30th percentile-ish as of the last year or two. So Max Jones provides a depth physical option for the Oilers. That's the kind of guy that you want when you're trying to make a Stanley Cup push. Trent Frederic will definitely be a full-time third liner for them. And also moved in this deal, if we go back to the main thing that showed us everything, the Oilers also received the rights to Petr Hauser. Now, who's Petr Hauser, you might ask? Well, the Devils move him in the deal as they acquire the 25% of Trent Frederic's contract. Essentially, just a contract is being moved here. The Devils drafted him in the 5th round of 2022. So it's not that he's like 23, 24. He's definitely not coming to North America. But at 21, he's been in the Czech League. He's a 5th round pick. I don't think this is going to be a guy that the Oilers ended up ever really using. But just to note, this is who he is. He's a right winger. He scored 4 points in 16 games in the Czech Extraliga. 5th round pick in 2022. There you go. Not much else I can really say on Petr Hauser. Now, the Bruins giving up that value, kind of moving themselves into that seller category. Will Charlie Coyle be next? Will Brendan Carlo be next? The Bruins receive a prospect, Max Wanner, I'm going to say. Max Wanner. Maximus, excuse me. He is a defenseman who was drafted in the 7th round by the Oilers in 2021. He's been playing in the AHL the last couple of years, so definitely not a toss-in, like just by toss-in, I mean just a contract to make the trade work. I wouldn't say that Wanner was thrown into this trade just to make the contracts work. However, I don't think there's much stock in who he is as a player. No offense intended. He's turning 22 in a couple of weeks. 2 points in 22 games down in Bakersfield. 7th round pick in 2021. 6'3" defenseman. 17 points in 68 games the year prior. He played with Moose Jaw in the WHL, putting up some okay numbers there. And yeah, that's about it. So I wouldn't say that he's the main part of the return at all. He's more than a toss-in, but not that much more if we're looking at value, trade value. The biggest return here for the Bruins is that they get a 2nd and a 4th. A 2nd from the Blues. So essentially the Oilers flip the 2nd that they got from St. Louis in the Philip Broberg offer sheet, and they turn that 2nd with a couple other pieces into a couple of rentals in Frederic and Jones. Does that make Oilers fans happy? I don't know. But if you look at the Bruins situation now, that gives them, it was what, a 2025 2nd and 2026 4th. So did they not have their own? Next, they traded theirs away. So there you go. So that now gives the Bruins 1st, 2nd, 3rd in 2025, and 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 2 4ths in 2026. So it's not the craziest move in the world, but there you go. There's also, there's cap involved and all that with the Devils being in there. So the Devils acquire Shane LaChance from the Oilers in this facilitation where they move out Petr Hauser, retain 25% of Frederic, and then therefore receive Shane LaChance, who is arguably even a better prospect than Max Wanner. Honestly, yeah. LaChance, he's a 6th round pick of the Oilers in 2021. He'll be turning 22. Actually, no, it's not April, August. So he is 21 and a half, about 25 points in 32 games with Boston University. I would probably want Shane LaChance more than Max Wanner, but that's just me. So yeah, 6th round pick in 2021, who's 21 years old, playing with Boston University, and you would think would probably be in the Devils AHL system next year. But yeah, for the Devils to take on 25% of cap and not really do that much, they move out a prospect that they probably weren't going to use. They retain some salary, and in exchange for their troubles, they get a prospect who's a little bit better. Would Devils fans have preferred like a 3rd or a 4th round pick, as is the going price for retention sometimes? Probably. But like I said, the Oilers didn't really have much to give trade value-wise, draft pick-wise, unless they were dipping into picks later on. They have no more 4ths, and then a 5th is too little, a 3rd is too much. So they say, hey, how about a prospect instead? They go with Shane LaChance. So there you go. So the Oilers receive Frederic, Jones, and a Tossin. Guys are going to be in their depth, middle six, whatever, in exchange for the Bruins then receiving a second and a fourth, as well as a prospect too, who's a whatever, more of a Tossin. Really, it's more the second and the fourth that they get, especially the second that was flipped from the Oilers from the offer sheet for Philip Broberg. And then the Oilers also end up trading away Shane LaChance. So the Oilers trade the Oilers trade Wanner, LaChance, a second and a fourth for Frederic at 75% retained, Max Jones, and a toss-in Petr Hauser. That's what seems to be the trade right now. Eloy says LaChance showed a lot of that he has grit and size. Saw him play. I was impressed. You know what? I can't really speak to him very much, but it's going to be, I'd say he has more value than Maximus Wanner, or at least equal value, right? 2 third-line centers off the trade market in 1 hour. Yeah. So we were just looking at that in the Jake Evans breakdown like 15 minutes ago. That leaves who now? Brock Nelson, Scott Lawton, Ryan Donato. I don't know. Nice lunchtime stream. Welcome, Mackenzie. Frederic also injured. Yes. I'm not sure the extent of the injury, but I believe he is back very soon. Not just soon. I think he's back very soon, if I read that correctly. Yeah, second for Frederic isn't bad at all for the Bruins. A second, a fourth, and a toss-in. A little bit more than a toss-in. It's not bad. But it shows that the Bruins are most likely moving into that cellar, I don't know, status. I don't think anyone Bruins or below will be making the postseason. I think the Canadians and Senators and even the Rangers are all pretty fringe. I think just looking trajectory-wise, I believe in the Blue Jackets and the Red Wings more. But in general, I'd say these 5 teams are fighting for 2 spots. And with Marchand week to week, Frederic and Jones now gone, but especially Frederic, I think the Bruins are going to say, time to start selling a bit more. And this is not the last trade that we would have seen from the Bruins. My goodness. It's a 3-team trade. I'm saying team names all over the place. So Trent Frederic, these were his numbers. He moved to the Edmonton Oilers now. He'll be an expiring UFA. He's been playing the same number of minutes the last couple of seasons. He throws a ton of hits. He brings physicality, and so does Max Jones to now the Oilers' bottom 6. What does it mean for their depth? We'll look at it in a moment. Max Jones has been spending most of the year down in the AHL with Providence, former first-round pick of the Ducks. Career 82-game average is 19 points per 82 games played as -15. Okay. Does hit a lot as well, though. 144 hits per 82 games played. So Frederic and Jones bring a lot of physicality to the lineup. And we look at the depth chart now in Edmonton. We can see that, yes, Jeff Skinner, he's in the press, because, yeah, his Frederic is injured here. Okay. So it's really just Evander Kane who's the one who's long-term injured long-term. And yeah, this provides options for the Oilers. Bring Trent Frederic back in this lineup. Kapanen can be in and out. I wouldn't be surprised if Podkolzin was also in and out, but Podkolzin's been doing very well. This is the type of depth that you want. You don't necessarily want someone who's going to come in and be, okay, we needed this guy. Oh, thank goodness we plug him in. We were dying for this piece. No, Trent Frederic can be complementary to the rest of the bottom 6 here in Edmonton. I can't really say I believe heavily in the Oilers. I don't think they're going to win the Stanley Cup. I don't like their middle 6 too much. Wing, I don't like Arvidsson in terms of his production. I don't believe in Connor Brown too much. I think Adam Henrique is slowing down. So I don't love how the Oilers look as a team right now. Maybe I'm just being a hater, I don't know what, but just trying to speak from no bias. I can't say I love how they look. This is what they need to be giving themselves the best chance at a Stanley Cup run again. Pieces like Frederic and Jones to throw them in as more options in that bottom middle 6, whatever else it might be, when there's injuries, when there's lack of performance and whatnot. So that's good for the Oilers. Now the Boston Bruins get picks, and now in their depth, they should continue to be selling. If I'm Boston, I'm trading Charlie Coyle. I know that might be tough because he has 1 more year of his contract. I'm definitely looking at trading Brendan Carlo. I know it's also tough because he has 2 years left of his contract, but on an affordable AAV of $4.1 million. Actually, it shouldn't be that hard to make that happen. Yeah, but with injuries to Marchand and to McAvoy and to Hampus Lindholm, I forgot about Hampus Lindholm too. It is time to sell in Boston. And the Devils, hey, they get a pick out of it, a prospect out of it, sorry. And nothing changes for their depth or their cap, really. They still have $4.5 million in cap space. So the Devils can still make moves. The Bruins can still sell for sure. They have they'd be able to take on some more salary too if need be. I think they still have a slot to retain salary. And the Edmonton Oilers, by getting Frederic at 75% retained, still have over $4.5 million of cap space left headed towards the deadline. There you go. And that's that. Anything else we want to see here? I think that's about it. Analysis. Jesper Boqvist re-signed 2 years at $1.5 million. Okay. Cam Atkinson on waivers. over in Tampa. Could that be a prelude to something happening with the Lightning? I wonder. Logan Brown also on waivers. How the mighty have fallen. Walker Dewar, he cleared waivers. There you go. All that same news there. Andy Strickland saying, great pickup for Edmonton. Could use some size up front. Trent Frederic will return in plenty of time to get up to speed for the playoffs. There you go. So that's the breakdown, ladies and gentlemen. Trent Frederic and company headed to the Oilers in a 3-team deal. I think it works out for the Devils. Maybe they could have gotten a pick out of it, but I think it's, it's whatever for the Devils. It's not anything crazy. It's whatever for the Devils. It's okay value for the Bruins, yeah. And it makes sense for the Oilers too. However, if Frederic becomes a rental and he stays as a rental and the Oilers have an early bow out, to say that the Philip Broberg offer sheet turned into a rental who didn't really do anything, that's going to hurt a lot more. So there's definitely more pressure on the Edmonton Oilers to make this work. And the Bruins, who should be sellers, get seller value. It's a seller's market. I don't mind a second and a fourth and whatever. And the Devils facilitate it, and there you go. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Brendan Carlo is in Calgary conversations. Brendan Carlo definitely being discussed at that 4.1 million AAV for sure. Brazeau, yep. Lots of many more things to happen. That's why you got to subscribe and hit that bell. Headed towards the deadline on Friday. We'll have live coverage on Friday, but before that, breaking news live streams for you. It breaks first in the Discord server. Join us there, link in the description. But then the stream comes your way after that. If you want instant reaction and analysis, subscribe as we approach the trade deadline for all the trades and deals and extensions and everything happening in the National Hockey League. Leave a like and also your comments down here in the comments on YouTube or in the Discord server. What do you think about this trade, especially for Bruins fans? Do we need to sell more? Is this good value for Trent Frederic? Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for being here, everyone, on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. Have a great rest of your day, and I am sure that we will be live again before you know it. Thanks, everybody. Talk soon.